Welcome to another edition of PENSDOWN, the program that gets journalists talking about their journalism journeys. Today, I have one of the veterans in journalism in Ghana with me. Truly honored to be hosting him today. He is a veteran broadcast journalist and lecturer, and the former head of radio news at the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, that is GBC Radio. Between 1985 and 2000, he was the Castle correspondent for GBC Radio. He currently lectures in broadcasting at Wisconsin International University College, located in Accra, Ghana. My guest today is Mr. Teye Kitcher. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's indeed an honor to have you here. Some of us started listening to you when we were small boys, and see how fate will have it that today I am on the side of, I don't want to say interviewing, but having a conversation with one of the people whose voices brought the news to our homes in those years. So let me start with this. You were the Castle correspondent of GBC Radio from 1985 to 2000. Now, for those who don't know, the Osu Castle was Ghana's presidency or seat of government. So what it meant is that he was the presidential correspondent for the nation's broadcaster, GBC Radio, from 1985 to 2000. That's about a period of 15 years, if I'm right.
Exactly.
Right. Now, sir, I want to find out, at the height of your reportage or reporting from the office of the president, ex-president JJ Rawlings of blessed memory was head of state at a point and then president when Ghana entered constitutional governance. Tell me about your time with the man who ruled Ghana. I think so far he has been the longest serving head of states and president of the country. What memories do you have of your time?
Well, I have very fond memories, which began on the very day I was assigned to cover the castle. I was the lowest rank in the newsroom.
Okay.
You know, and I got to work one morning, Monday morning, and then director of News and Current Affairs, Tana Glate, called me and said, go to the castle and report from the castle. And I was, wow. Before that time, it was assistant chief editors and staff who were covering the castle, very senior people.
Okay.
So I understand why a junior most person in the newsroom should be asked to cover the castle. But then I had a mentor in the newsroom called Mr. John Yankuma.
Okay.
So he called me aside and said, look, that's
right.
You know, which and you will be so I had to leave for the castle in light blue jeans and check shirt and moccasins.
Wow.
So I got to the castle and there was an assignment.
Okay.
And that time we only have those covering the castle from GNA, GBC, Time, Graphic, Information Services Department.
Okay.
Ghana Films joins us as they are needed.
Okay.
So we all filed along a wall. And then former President Rawlings of blessed memory walked in there. They took a look at us and realized I was new. And so he was like, wow, you are new. And I said, yes, I am. Then he looked at my feet and said, wow, those are big shoes. Okay, my name to him was Big Shoe, Mr. Shoe, Big Shoe. He never called me he just calls me Shoe or Big Shoe, Mr. Shoe. You know, and that was our first encounter, and it's like we clicked.
Okay.
So from onwards, he became like a senior brother to me.
Okay.
You know, I was close to him. You know, I could cover an assignment and tell him, "Oh, sir, can I use in your private quarters?" And he said, "Oh, why not?" And I'll walk to his private quarters.
Wow.
And I'll send my from his private quarters. You know, sometimes we go to areas where there are no telephones, and he makes use the Motorola set in his presidential car.
Okay.
Called to send my reports to the castle for the reports to be sent to BBC by dispatch rider.
Oh.
We struck up a friendship, more like brotherhood, like a senior brother, junior brother kind of thing, you know. Wow. And that was how it was over the years. You know, I'll tell you one memory that I would
before you go on to that. Now, for a lot of people, that orientation, quote unquote, by the certain president calling you Shoe, Mr. Shoe, or Big Shoe, or whatever it is, would have intimidated or unsettled them from, you know, having the kind of start they had. Was it done in such a jovial environment, which is why you settled in, or you took it so easily, or the atmosphere was tense?
No, it was very jovial. I mean, he was smiling, talking. So it really calmed my nerves, and I realized, oh, I'm home. You know, I'm home. You know, and it went on that way. This is someone I can walk to his kitchen on Mondays and go and check out what kitchen and get a cook to give me something to eat.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Please go ahead. You wanted to narrate an incident.
You know, there was this first trip to the Afram Plains.
Okay.
We've never been to Afram Plains. Apparently, he had gone to Rekki with a helicopter, so he knew exactly where we were going.
Okay.
Left Accra around 2-3ish at dawn.
Okay.
And we headed out. No one knew where we were going. So contemplating in a press car, we're going to Bolga, we're going to Tamale and stuff. Then when we got to Nkoko, then we branched right and started climbing the hill. There's a mountain. We climbed the mountain and then we started descending. And then we saw water. And we're like, where has this man brought us? We've not eaten.
Oh.
So we got to Adeso. That was at the Volta Lake.
Okay.
Then he bought fried yams and some fish for us to eat.
You mean the certain president did that?
Yes. And then we started. The road was horrible. And we were in a vehicle without air conditioners. Those times, these vehicles and the guard, the escort vehicles were the only air conditioners.
Okay.
All the rest were not that, you know.
Okay.
So we were on it with the dust and stuff. So you have to tie your handkerchief around your nose so that you don't breathe in too much and stuff like that.
Yes.
We through various towns till we went to the other end of the Volta Lake.
Okay.
It's called Amankwatonu. From there, you cross to the Volta region. by the water. So got there. It was late in the night, and it was small, and they were asleep. And it turns out that we brought some kinky and fish and pepper from Accra. And so we had to share.
Okay.
It turned out that 2 people to 1 kinky, 1 fish. So we had to share.
Okay.
And I shared with Ohininto, former General Secretary of the NPP. He was the TV. Ohininto. Okay. He was a TV. So in fact, after the food, I was not satisfied. And I was a smoker then. He also smoked.
Okay.
So I made up my mind to try and enter the village to see if I can get something to eat.
Okay.
Apparently, he was watching me. So as soon as I made a move, then he said, "Hey, Shu, boy, where are you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to get some cigarettes." He said, "Oh, I have some." I said, "But I don't smoke your brand." He said, "Look, I know you are hungry. Don't go and approach anybody's castle." Over it, and I entered the village. So lucky for me, I came by a house where the people in Dangme or Adan.
Okay.
When I heard it, I was like, wow. So I just said, like a form of asking permission to enter the house.
Okay.
He said, "Oh yeah, come in." These were fishermen who had just returned from the lake with fish, and they were eating the fish in a light soup form.
Wow! And
they carry. In fact, when I saw the food, and they were selling what they should do in the house. And then they said, "Oh, who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm a stranger." I said, "Are you the people who brought the plenty vehicles to the village?" I said, "Yes." And I said, "Look, I'm hungry." He said, "Oh, the food is almost ready. Sit down, let's eat." And so I ate.
Wow.
Then when they finished, I told them we have people there, my other colleagues and stuff. And it was around 10 p.m., 11 p.m. that way.
Okay.
Then he said, "Okay." They gave me some of the soup. And they gave me garlic.
Okay.
And I was leading the people carrying the food. As we got closer to the camp, mind you, we're all sleeping in the open.
Okay.
This is a village, no guest house, no chief executive's house. So we're sleeping. Some were sleeping on top of the vehicles. Some were sleeping on mattresses. The old man himself was sleeping in one of these camp beds that the military people have.
Okay.
So we're getting close to the camp. Then the sentries around shouted, "Who goes there? Stop!" I did not know what to say than to say food. And the whole camp came awake. The moment I mentioned came awake, and that was one of the memories that I will keep for a very long time.
So you mean for the man who was saddled with the responsibility of managing a whole country, he had such time to so fraternize with you as to make you feel at home, as if you are talking to an ordinary person?
Very much so. I mean, after assignments, he invited us to his private quarters.
Okay.
Serve us drinks. We will eat with him before we go to our offices to write our stories. But I would have sent my story faster by phone to GBC to record it. But I'll be free. There was a day like that. He brought a bottle of whiskey.
Okay.
And my other colleagues were there, and he gave me the cigarette. I lit up, he lit up, talking. Then he said, "Oh, feel free, order whatever you want." Then people have been drinking aquatation with were asking for Fanta and Coca. Well, I don't pretend. So I took the glass and poured the whiskey to the room that he had poured. Then he said something in the room, so he left us. And then my people were like, "Oh, Charlie, cut me small, cut me small." I said, "Were you in front of the man? You said you drink. You know you take pee yourself."
But was it not the case? I think were they not justified? Was it not the case that he seemed to have made you personally so comfortable with him that it was not so with all of them? So they needed all the caution and
I think I would agree with you on that. Because I've never been tensed in his presence, even when he's angry. And I'm just relaxed. It's like I'm my brother's house.
Did this familiarity and unhindered access to him make you forget at any point that you were dealing with a president?
Yeah, repeat the question.
What I'm saying is this: did this familiarity and unhindered access make you at any time forget yourself that you were dealing with a president?
No way. No. That respect is there. I know he was a big, but I also know that he likes me a lot. And he sees me as a brother. So respect you give to your senior brother is what I give to him. Added to the fact that he's president or the head of state of the country. So I find myself blessed and privileged. Number one, to be reporting from the castle, and then number two, to have such a close relationship with the man in charge of affairs. So it was a special time for me. But then I would say he never ever interfered with my work.
Okay.
He never interfered with my work. And he had never condemned my work, never criticized anything I did, ever. Never. Not on any occasion. Because I felt I was able to read after working with him, after working for a long time. I was able to read his mind, sort of. When he's reading a speech, there are certain gestures that he makes that would make me see, wants me to emphasize this point.
Oh, okay.
Or he can swipe and across his throat, and the sign for me is, "Don't put this one in."
Oh, I see.
We have subtle signs, not only me, but with the cameramen and other media people that we observe.
Okay.
So it makes work quite easier and interesting.
Those were, in journalism, we would say those were non-verbal communication symbols. Right. Yes. Now, I want to understand from the beginning, from the first time you started noticing those signs, how were you able to put meanings to it, which turned out to be exactly what he intended to communicate?
We chat a lot.
Okay.
During times when my other colleagues have gone home,
okay.
I could stay and go to him when he's free. And both share the passion for reading books.
Oh, okay.
So I can pass on a book I've read to him. He can pass on he's read to me. So we find ourselves discussing a whole lot of issues. So from there, I started realizing his line of thought regarding certain things. So that made it easier for me to read what he wants, report, what he would like people to hear. And then he's, so it made the work not that difficult. I was young, so going up and down was no problem for me. I was in
the question I would have started this conversation with is now coming, because I just couldn't hold myself up about your relationship with the president and the castle. That's why I had to jump in with that one from the beginning. Now, how did the decision to pursue journalism come about for you?
My mother was among the people who set up GNA.
Okay, Ghana News Agency.
Exactly. My mom was then working at the Information Services Department, and when they were about to set up GNA, they were drafted, and she was a receptionist.
Okay.
So she there sometimes. She was the person who started organizing the cafeteria at the GNA.
Okay.
I used to go there a lot when I was a kid. But the funny part is, after Form 5, I wanted to read architectural design.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm a good artist. I draw a lot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
My uncle at that time was then director of manpower and training for the Ministry of Education.
Okay.
It was called AK. So I said, I'll go to Winneba Secondary School because they have what we call the prelims.
Okay.
Go to tech without going to sixth form. A system like that. So I was going to Winneba because they offered art at that level, at the A level.
Yes.
So my uncle gave me a letter to the headmaster. And when I got there, the headmaster was so angry with me. He walked me out of his office. I've forgotten his name.
Wow.
I came home crestfallen. But you see, at that time too, I was a band. So I was playing band around Accra with my colleagues and stuff.
Okay.
Then my mom, if I leave you in Accra to be playing band all over, you might go wayward. So my mom went to the education office in Adan and said, she has a boy who can do people teaching till time is up for him to go to school.
Okay.
So I was engaged with a people teacher in a primary school in a village called Totimekope.
Okay.
GC Primary. I was teaching class 3.
Okay.
Big brother, Paul Wintum Kitcher. He was then teaching at the Ghana College.
Okay.
Ghana Secondary School, Tamale.
In Tamale,
He taught John
who later would become president of Ghana.
Yes, he taught John Mahama, he taught Asaga and Co. And so I knew John Mahama when I was a student, like him, because we're in it.
Okay.
Because when school breaks in Adan, I go to Mali to spend a long back.
Okay.
He came down one day to Adan and he was like, hey, I hear GIJ is organizing some entrance examination. You love reading. Don't you try journalism? Apparently, he had paid for the fees for the exams and everything already.
Oh, said, before even coming to suggest it to you.
So he said, look, this is it. This is the receipt. You are supposed to be writing the exams on this. What he didn't tell me was he had friends. Chiri Apronti was then teaching there. Cabral Bleami here was also there.
Yes.
So I went and wrote the exam. And so those days, the exams were very tough. You have about 2,000 people around Africa aiming to enter GIJ, and they could take only 200 or 300.
Wow.
So it's tough. So I went and I went to sit these exams with people who had failed their FUEs in the universities and stuff, 6 formers, and I was an O-level man, So I got there, and then when the results were pasted on the notice board, I was number 3. And I think I was number 3 because of my name, because the K goes way down.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was actually chosen. I don't know, number 3. So that was how I got into GIJ. And it became something that I loved right from the start. Because I had good tutors like Cabral Bleami here.
Okay.
Who really heightened my interest in journalism because of the style with which it's easygoing, free, encouraged me to write. I remember the first time he said we should try our hands at editorials. I wrote the thing and he was so impressed, and I was like, wow. Then internship, I was sent to GBC GTV.
Okay.
So that was where I did internship. I did my internship at GTV, and then we passed out of the school. Now I'm going to tell you how I entered GBC.
Very well.
After school, I stayed home for about, I think, 6 months or so.
Okay.
And then Mr. Berfia Painting.
Okay.
He was of my senior brother in Lagos. So we were then living in Achimota School. My brother was then teaching in Achimota School, and he was the agri-house master.
Okay.
So Mr. Painting was around to play squash.
Okay.
And so one day he came and was like, Charlie, it's your small brother. We are going to organize interviews. So he was at GTV. I think he can do the job. So Painting made me write my application letter. I gave it to him. He sent it to GBC. Then he brought the invitation for the interview.
Wow.
Somewhere in March.
Okay.
1992.
Okay.
I went for the interview, and then April 1st or so, I started working at GBC.
Wow.
In the radio, and it was all joy for me because I was doing something I really gotten a lot of interest in, and had good people who could mentor me, like Mr. John Yankuma. I will never ever forget him because he really molded me. And then father-in-law, who was also a broadcaster, called Johnny Ashigote.
Okay.
So while Yankuma was mentoring me in news writing, my father was also mentoring me in presentation skills.
Oh, wow.
So the 2 Johns. In actual fact, my life has been influenced by 3 Johns. John Yankuma and Johnny Ashigote. 3 Johns.
Yeah.
I could say I was lucky. I was blessed, to have such art. And so that's the story, how I got in there, and there for almost 40 years.
You were there for almost 40 years.
7 years to be precise.
doing the same thing every day without getting tired?
No, you know, there's something about broadcasting. It's like a bug. When it bites you, and you feel that it catches you.
Wow.
You at one place. And once you have the passion and you enjoy the job, you are stuck. That was why I never changed jobs.
Wow. The broadcasting aside, was there a point that maybe certain things happened at the workplace that will make it look like you are looking at rethinking your working environment, or hoping to be able to have some new experience somewhere?
I don't think so. Even though after some time, some people, elements in the newsroom had wanted me to be changed from the castle back to the newsroom. So I was on leave one day, and then a driver sent to me at my house in Laboni. This is the letter. They said you should report to the newsroom when you resume. Just get back to the someone else is going to the castle. I said fine. I took the letter. Then that evening I went to the castle. Excuse me. I went to the castle. I went to the man's place. And I was like, sir, I'm no longer coming to work here. I hear I should report in the newsroom to be reassigned. Look at me, and then there was a flash of anger in his eyes, and it was like, says who? And she said, this is the letter, I gave it to him. And he said, don't mind them. So he said I should go home. I don't know. But the very next day, the same driver came home with another letter. I had to go back to the castle. And so I went back. I don't know what I've told them, but I found myself back at the castle, you know. Yeah. But then there's never been any serious incident that had made me think of changing jobs. No.
Okay.
Not at all.
You experienced ex-President Rawlings, God rest his soul. You experienced him under his military regime and then under democracy. How different did he have? Two different personalities across the two systems of government, or he was still the same person?
He was the same man. He was the same man during the time of the PNDC, because the political atmosphere was different.
Yes,
you know, he had that much authority.
Okay.
When we enter democratic rule, you know, with parliament and all that,
yes, rule of law and all that.
You know, because sometimes the pace at which he would like certain things to move was slowed down by parliamentary procedures and things. So privately, you see, he annoys me, but there's nothing I can do. So he was the same person. His passion, his skill, and all never waned. Saying Jerry John Rawlings, I first encountered in 1985 at the castle.
During the military time, while he was head of state, that would be the time that the military had a bit of much of an upper hand, you know, in the affairs of the country. Now, in civilian rule after 1993, there was a rule of law. There was the introduction of the Fourth Republican Constitution. So things meant that military needed to reduce their presence across the reins of government or across the administration of the state. How did he transition to accept these things from your standpoint as a reporter?
Well, I know it wasn't that easy for him, you know, and he tried to keep certain things as they were, especially his security. And look, he had one very good organizer, administrator in PV Obin.
Okay, yes.
Helped him a lot. That man can, without looking through a book, quote figures, and when you check, they are correct. That is the genius of it. You know, so he helped the old man a lot, and a whole lot of things, you know, administratively, you know, because he was then chairman of the committee of secretaries, you know, and then he transitioned to head, let's say, chief of staff, so to speak, during the democratic era, you know. But I don't think he had so much of a problem. The frustrations that sometimes come along when things don't go quite smoothly, and there are debates in parliament on issues that you know, and so there you can smell the impatience in him sometimes. Yeah.
While serving as military head of states, there were reports that at certain points there were attempts to topple his government. What was your experience? Can you confirm these?
Well, I never had that close experience, except that in GBC, we are frontline, so to speak.
Yeah.
There were a military detachment of about 200 officers and men in both the old house and the new house. You know, the old house, that Flagstaff house.
That's right.
You know, and so you can sense the tension when maybe the boy had information and stuff. But today, I think a week before Jiwa and Co struck, it was a rainy day, and I had gone to Kanda. There's a base there where we go to drink, and I went there, drank my whatever, and I was on night duty.
Okay.
As soon as I entered the newsroom, then we heard firing. Sustained gunfire for some minutes, and then it died off. I believe that was a test run for those who are going to stage the Jiwa coup.
Oh, okay.
You understand? And I remember very well, I had to take cover in one of the studios. And that was the day I realized that God is good because He created us all specially. I saw a disabled man running fast, disabled people in the GBC that night. Yes, I won't name. He's dead of blessed memory.
Wow.
The way swings his leg around, holds the pillar, and swings to the other pillar and dashes down. Wow, it was a beauty to watch. It was a beauty to watch that maybe forget the danger we were facing. You know, it was a beauty to watch. Yeah.
Okay, now you are a lecturer. You are teaching broadcasting. After some 30 plus years of professional practice, which saw you work at a state broadcaster, what is your candid assessment of the quality of journalism in Ghana today?
I will tell you straight up. We have many mercenaries in journalism these days. When I say mercenaries, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, yes.
Many of them in journalism these days started practicing journalism. Could see committed people who were not in the profession for the money, but they loved it.
Yeah.
And so they did their. Now, we have a lot of paid pens, paid microphones, paid, doing political hatchet jobs for whoever. I think that is very unfortunate. It has deprived the media of its agenda-setting role. Right now, the media no longer sets any agenda. The politicians set the agenda, and then the media runs to lap it up like Hausa Coco. We must have to take control of the media scene as journalists, and I believe that this will all start from the restructuring of the GJ. It must get to the point where it can issue licenses to anybody who would say he's a journalist. Just like the Medical Association, the Dental Council, and others, the Ghana Bar Association and the legal profession offers licenses to practitioners. So when you foul of the ethics of the profession, they will have a license.
But this is the situation. This is the challenge I think the GJ would have. Now, all these associations, professional associations or bodies you have mentioned, eligibility for membership first is by academic and professional qualification. But according to the Ghana Journalists Association, you can practice minus professional training and still qualify to be a journalist in Ghana.
It's where we open the doors for mercenaries to enter. Take this example. I have a radio station. I go to my village. Then I come across an MC at an event who is so eloquent in a particular language. And I invite him to Accra without training, put him behind a microphone to be a host of a program.
That's right.
What do you think that person?
There's a lot of noise.
Now, a lot of noise.
Yes.
And it's senseless.
Yes.
So if you want to practice journalism or you want to be a broadcaster, the GTA have a system where, like the IPR thing, you go through some orientation. You become an associate member as you go through the orientation. Could be for 6 months, could be for 3 weeks, could be for six. And after that, you are given a license to practice as a member of the association. Because now we have a lot of journalism schools.
Yes.
We have a lot. There are even I don't like to use the word mushroom, but there are who don't even have accreditation, and they organize journalism courses, broadcasting courses for people who are employed in radio stations and other places, and then they just mess up the profession for all of us.
Indeed, with this scenario you painted, a colleague once told me that he walked into a radio station in Accra here, and one of the principalities at that media house was a funeral DJ he knew back in the village who had been transformed. who had been transformed into a principality at the media house. He went there for interview. This funeral DJ minus training was on the panel to interview him, and the person made sure he failed.
Can you imagine? Because you, with the training that you have, will be a threat to him because he is so raw. So it's in his interest to make sure you never get a seat there. So we must look at things again at a level and try and instill professionalism into broadcasting, print journalism, into online journalism, and all the branches of journalism we have. Let me give you an example. That hurts me. That does not make me listen to our local stations, especially when news is concerned. I love reggae programs on Peace FM, so I listen to them once in a while. But I wouldn't want to say Akan stations, the indigenous language stations. When it gets to news, you might think it's a comic show, a comedy.
Yes.
But news is serious business. So with a little bit of training, those people would deliver the news in a way that we all understand and appreciate. GBC, for example, had a local language. And these were professionals who we give them the English version of the news, and they sit down and translate and broadcast. Very neat. Because they are literate. They were literate in the language in which they broadcast. They can read and write those languages. But with local language presenters of news who are illiterate in their own language.
That's right.
They can only speak, but they cannot read and write. As I sit here, I can read and write. I can read and language. I can read and Fanti, my mother's language. So if you are you want to be a presenter, a broadcaster in any language, any local language, I think it is better to study the language, know how to read language, know how to write language. It polishes you. It polishes your language. You don't talk by heart to say that. Yes.
Somebody recently made a very interesting comment. He says, these days it looks like too many microphones are active and open by the roadside. So as you walk, you can sit by any of them and start making noise. And you call yourself a presenter.
I can't agree more. I made a very right and apt observation. Because you listen to some of them and you are like, man, what is it? What am I hearing? For example, there's news of a rape somewhere. And rape is a sin.
Yes.
So it's like, what do you call it?
Mona.
And now papi. What the hell is that?
Meanwhile, somebody is emotionally traumatized out of the experience.
Exactly. So the professionalism in presentation, especially on most of the local language stations, is lost.
Is it not all about the gallery mindset and the clickbaits that people get? For instance, a lot more Ghanaians seem to, or some Ghanaians will flow with all these comic things and enjoy it. And because of that, every other time when it's news time, they want to tune in. So it's if they are playing to the gallery.
Exactly. And apart from that, it is as if the owners of these states themselves have invested into broadcasting because of the money.
Yeah.
And whatever that would make adverts flowing, they will do.
Yeah.
They think too much about the training of their personnel, which I think is very crucial. They must begin to think about their personnel so that they offer them some refresher courses.
Yeah.
They can link up with any of the universities of any of the journalism institutions to do that for them. But it seems that most of the media owners in Ghana are not interested in the development of the people they use.
Yes.
You and I know that sit here. There are media and broadcasting entities in this country don't pay the people who work for them.
Oh yes, a lot of them.
Paid for years.
Yes.
They go on their own pocket, go for stories and stuff. Why wouldn't they fight over story?
Yes, so because of that, for those reporters and correspondents, Solly is a life and death matter.
It's a lifeline to living. You understand? I don't mind if you do a good job for somebody and the person shows appreciation. That's fine. But to demand, even when your the name is on, I remember I organized an event for some people, and I was in charge of the media.
Okay.
And I had a list of media houses I had invited. At the end of it all, out of the 10 media houses I invited, I ended up having about 25 other people from
the gate crashers were more.
Yes, they were so aggressive. Then I was like, hey, wait. If your name is not on my list, stand aside. Let me deal with the people I invited. Finish with them. I'll see what to do with you. But please, don't rush me. No, that's not it.
Talking about media owners. Talking about media owners, there is the increasing political ownership of the media. Are we supposed to be worried? What does it portend for our budding democracy?
I think we have to be worried about the political ownership of it. That ownership tends to distort issues, tends to distort facts, tends to distort everything. Because instead of explaining things for the general populace to understand through broadcasting, we have a political agenda. If you ask people in GE, they will tell you that whenever there's an issue, I tell them, call an expert. Don't call a politician. Because the expert would dissect whatever it is and educate all of us on it. You bring two politicians, one from this party, one from the other party, they come and sit down. And during our time, we did that. So equalization will take about 50% of a 1 hour program.
Yes.
So in the end, we learn nothing. There's no education and a lot of confusion. You understand? So
yes,
the political ownership of the media is a very serious thing we have to look at. You understand? And I don't know how we are going to do about it. I don't know if the NMC can do something. I don't know whether the teachers can do something, but we have to do something about it.
Let me take you back to your time at the castle with ex-President Rawlings. Did your special relationship with him give you some exclusives in terms of news?
Oh, No. I don't think so, because I was covering routine assignments.
Okay.
Unless maybe he wants you to do something special for him by way of report. He did find, the occasions where he had sent me to some places to do an assessment of the situation.
Okay.
To say it was undercover for me to report back to him, but not in terms of, you understand. He wants to get it, what is happening somewhere, and I'll go there and play it by the ear and the eyes, and come back and brief him.
I see. So with this, your special relationship with him, how did your colleagues whom you were working with at the castle as fellow correspondents, how did they relate with you, or how did they see you? Were there moments of jealousy or sometimes of, curious looks here and there? How was?
Because I also do not know the kind of relationship they have with him. I know of. Understand? And we were together as a group. We were together, we helped each other. We were like a family.
So after ex-President Rawlings left power in the year 2000, that is precisely 7th January 2001, or a day before that, your relationship with him, did it go beyond your working relationship while he was president, or it virtually ended?
It never ended. I make sure I see the old man at least once every month or twice every month. So unfortunately, I could not see him much before he died, because I had moved from Laboni to Abokobi and I was no longer at GBC. So whenever I found myself in town, I tried to pass by, So unfortunate, the old man just shook me up with wherever it is that he's going.
If you are to be given an opportunity to write his biography, that is the late President Rawlings, God rest his soul, how big is it going to be? Is it like a 500-page, a 200-page, or?
I would not be dwelling so much on his political life. I would deal with the personal level and the humanness, the humanness that is within him. You understand?
Yes.
He is such a humane person. So I look at it from that angle. I wouldn't go into the politics of it. Because there are other people who are more competent to do that. Especially people he worked closely on the political front. They can tell us how his political thought and thinking patterns are like. You understand? Yeah.
GBC at a point wanted to change you. An intervention came and then you were maintained at the castle. How then were you perceived in the newsroom? Too powerful to be touched? Or what?
Well, I don't know what they thought, because I never thought about what. I was focused on my job. Focused on my job. I was not looking left or right for people who might be jealous, people who might feel you are too powerful. I was doing a job, and that's it. So if there were things like, I never saw them, I never felt them.
If we have the opportunity to roll back the hands of time, would you still choose journalism and broadcasting for that matter?
Anytime, That is special. It's a joy in it that is special. And I don't know how to explain it, but as I said, it's like you getting bitten by a bug. And, once you get bitten by a bug, when you get bitten by mosquitoes, you get malaria, don't you?
That's right.
Get bitten by the broadcasting bug.
Yeah.
You get broadcasting malaria or whatever.
Something like that. Your name is Teye Kitcher. There was a Mavis Kitcher within the graphic communications group. I don't know whether it's Junior Graphic or the Mirror. Are you related?
Editor. She's my sister-in-law.
Oh, I see.
To my cousin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Who also has my name, Teye Kitcher. Just he worked with Bangkok, and now he works with Mommy, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe this is my sister-in-law.
Is any of your kids looking at journalism for a profession?
Well, one of my grand nieces is
Okay.
actually, as we speak, she did courses in GIJ. She's finished. Now working with an online entity.
Okay.
Doing her own, So I think she's the one I have handed the baton to.
And how are you with this extensive repertoire of experience? How are you helping her to navigate and become exceptional in her field?
She calls me boss because whenever she passes them by me, and I act as a consultant to whatever she wants.
It's been truly exciting having you today. Really grateful and honored. This has been PENSDOWN, and today I have had the honor of hosting one of Ghana's veterans in broadcasting. Some of us only heard his voice until Facebook gave us a picture to the voice. We are grateful, sir. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure being on your program.
Thanks for joining us today. And this has been PENSDOWN, the program that gives journalists the opportunity to talk about their journalism journeys. You can never tell what they go through or the behind-the-scenes issues that affect, either directly or indirectly, the stories they bring, which break, get serialized, or sometimes simply get misreported based on how it pans out. We are grateful to our guests today. We'll be back next time with PENSDOWN, and in the hot seat will be another journalist talking to us about his or her journalism journey. Stay tuned.